You don't just walk into the ghetto like you've made it. You return like a stranger, dressed like royalty, but still carrying the scent of your past under your fancy cologne. That morning, I came back to Ituck Street, the very artery of the ghetto that once bled hardship into my bones. But this time, I wasn't small p. I was Praise Thompson, a made man. The plan was simple. I would live for 24 hours like a billionaire in the ghetto I grew up in. No press. No announcement. Just raw, unfiltered life. I hired 2 fake bodyguards, borrowed a Mercedes from my friend in Lagos, wore a designer suit that cost me almost a month's earnings, and held my chin up like I was immune to the environment. The people didn't need a headline. My presence alone screamed, "He made it." Mothers stopped fanning their coal pots. Boys froze mid-fight. Even the dogs barked with caution. The stares were familiar. But something had changed. The first flashback hit me near Mama Ino's kiosk, the one with the red umbrella and the rusty kettle that whistled without heat. It was the place I first sold sachet water as a boy. Starving. Dreaming. I sat there again, now in 1,000 naira loafers, and waved at Mama Ino. Her face wrinkled in confusion, then softened in shock. "Small P? Is it really you?" Before I could respond, a boy snatched my phone. My iPhone 14 Pro Max. The ghetto welcomed me the only way it knew how. Instinct kicked in. I chased him. The bodyguards joined. The crowd gathered. And in the middle of that chaos, I saw a familiar figure. Chuka, my childhood friend. He looked at me, then the boy, then back at me. "Leave him. No be phone dem day snatch for here again. Nah lives." He wasn't joking. By 12 noon, I had set up my temporary billionaire base inside the compound I grew up in. A few cash gifts here and there helped me rent out the place for a day. People came to see me like I was an exhibit. But beneath the smiles, there was tension. Eyes followed my every move. Conversations paused when I passed. Laughter died when I stepped out. I overheard someone whisper, "Dem say he be ritualist. Use him papa die blow." That hurt. My father died of asthma. In my arms. And we couldn't even afford a Ventolin inhaler. Then came the boy again. The one who stole my phone. He returned it. No words. Just a stare. And a note. "They will come tonight. Leave before 11. I tried to stay calm. But the note haunted me. By evening, music blared from every speaker in the area. A party was forming. But I wasn't in a celebratory mood. I could feel something brewing. Chuka came by again, now tipsy. He laughed too much, hugged me too long. "You day try p. But some people know like this your loud comeback. Them feel say you day oppress. Make you no sleep here tonight." At 10:45 p.m., the lights in the compound went off. Someone had cut the power. And then I heard footsteps. I didn't wait to be a hero. I scaled the back fence with my guards, stumbled into the bush path we used as kids, and ran until we reached the next street. From there, I called the driver. As we drove off, I looked back at the ghetto one last time. Money changes you. But sometimes, it changes how others see you even more. In 24 hours, I had relived my past, felt the warmth of old faces, and narrowly escaped a setup fueled by envy. I learned that sometimes, your biggest success can be your biggest sin in the eyes of those who watched you struggle. I lived like a billionaire in the ghetto for 24 hours. And that was more than enough. The next morning, I sat in my hotel room miles away from Ituck Street, still in disbelief. I stared at my reflection for a long time, trying to understand what I felt. It wasn't fear. It was betrayal. I thought I was going back to inspire, to uplift, maybe even to give back. But instead, I uncovered truths that changed me. I got a message from Chuka. "You good? Sorry about last night. Some boys no one make peace. Peace? Please." That same afternoon, I sent anonymous funds to Mama Ino and the boy who returned my phone. I don't know why. Maybe guilt. Maybe gratitude. But I knew I couldn't go back. Not yet. Maybe not ever. I posted nothing about the trip. No pictures. No reels. Nothing for the gram. Because some experiences are too raw for filters. Some stories, you carry in silence. But in my heart, I knew I'd be back one day. Not as a billionaire, but as a brother. A week passed, and the incident refused to leave my mind. I found myself pacing in my Lagos apartment, replaying every moment. Then I got a call. A known number. Small P, you day lucky that night. If no be that boy way drop you that note, by now your name for Don Trend for RIP. The line cut. My hands trembled. I ran a background check with a contact in the police force. The number led to a burner phone. But then, something strange surfaced. One of the phone numbers in contact with that burner was registered to none other than Chuka. I felt cold. I called him. Chuka, we need to talk. He laughed nervously. You not wettin' again? You were in on it. Silence. I day find who stabbed me for back. And your name day smell for my knife. He ended the call. That same night, a parcel was dropped at my gate. No name. No number. Just an old photograph of Chuka and me as kids, and a scribbled line. Forgive me, but I needed the money. Tears welled in my eyes. The ghetto didn't change everyone. For some, it hardened them into survival machines. And betrayal? It wasn't personal. It was hunger. I sat in my study, the photo of Chuka and me on the table, sipping coffee that had gone cold. The weight of that line, I needed the money, pressed against my chest like a stone. Should I expose him? Call the authorities? Let the streets deal with him? Every option felt right and wrong. Chuka wasn't always like this. He once gave me his only slippers during rainy season. Once skipped meals to split his Gary with me. But that was before life chiseled away our innocence. I decided to call someone I hadn't spoken to in years. My old school principal, Mr. Dominic, who had since become a counselor for troubled youth. Sir, what do you do when your friend tries to kill you, but he did it out of desperation? He paused. Then said, you remember what I told you about leadership? Praise? It's not about being right. It's about doing right. That was it. The next morning, I sent word to Chuka through someone I trusted in the ghetto. I wanted to meet him, not to fight, not to expose, but to talk. He showed up, bruised by guilt, dressed in an old t-shirt that didn't fit. We sat in silence for a long time. Then I said, I'm opening a skill center in Utuck Street. I want you to manage it, but only if you promise to never bite the hand that once held yours. He nodded. No tears. Just silence. Sometimes, redemption sounds like a second chance. And leadership, like forgiveness. The groundbreaking for the Utuck Street Skill Empowerment Center was both simple and profound. We used an old warehouse beside the community field, a structure abandoned after a failed NGO project. Kids gathered with hopeful eyes. Mothers brought food in warm flasks. Youths who once feared dreaming now stood in line for registration. Chuka surprised everyone. He was early every morning, late every night. He managed volunteers, arranged schedules, and even taught basic graphic design using a borrowed laptop. You day see the boy way almost ruin you? Mama Ino asked one day. I see a man who got a second chance, I replied. Within 6 months, the center had trained over 300 youths. Tailoring, photography, welding, shoemaking, and digital literacy. Some even got internships outside the ghetto. One evening, while watching the sunset from the center's balcony, Chuka turned to me. P, you know, just live like billionaire for one day. You build like one. I smiled. I just remembered what it means to be human. The winds that once carried the stench of suffering on Utuck Street now carried something else, hope. A quiet transformation swept through the ghetto like the scent of rain on dry land. Where boys once sat idle and hungry, they now clustered around old desktop computers, learning to code. Where girls once carried buckets of water under the sun, they now walked in uniforms, holding sewing kits and notebooks. Even the elders felt it. One day, Chief Okon, the most feared elder in the ghetto, visited the center. He watched a group of teenagers pitch startup ideas. The ghetto way I know no daydream, he muttered. But this one day dream loud. The change wasn't perfect. Crime still lingered in corners. Poverty still wore its cloak. But something was different. Utuck Street was no longer just a place of survival. It was becoming a cradle of revival. And all it took was 24 hours of pretending to be a billionaire, and a lifetime commitment to being a brother. Thank you for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. Don't forget to turn on your notification bell for newly created content.